It's almost 1:30 in the morning here, and I'm up here just wide awake making funny bread. I'm really undecided on if I'm ever gonna make these again. Okay guys, so apparently if I take 2 eggs, 1 cup of cottage cheese, mix it up in a little blender, I should be able to make something that resembles bread. Are you sure? Now I've seen a lot of people try to do this on the internet, and I'm just not 100% sure if this is gonna work, because whenever I try to do something, stuff just doesn't work for me. But it's okay. You know, if you screw up in the kitchen, it's perfectly normal, especially if you're just trying to do new things. I like to do a lot of new things here on my channel, especially when it's carnivore diet related, you know, because this stuff is somewhat helpful to me. Now, the only problem I might have with this type of recipe is the cottage cheese. Now, the cottage cheese is loaded with all kinds of protein and good, yummy stuff, but it might slow my weight loss down a little bit. And if it does, that's okay, because I know what to do to correct it. I'll just eat more meats and fats. I'm probably going to do another 30 days of beef, bacon, butter, and eggs. But we're going to add in 2 full eggs, and then we're going to mix this up. I don't have a blender, guys. All I have is this little bullet blender. I hope this is going to do the trick, but you never know. We're going to give it a shot and see what happens. Does anybody have a secret to get this parchment paper to lay flat like the first time without a whole bunch of fuss? Because I just don't understand how you guys get such pretty parchment paper in your pans. But we're going to get this all tightened up and give this a good spin. We're going to spread it out on the pan the best we can. Hopefully we don't make a glorified mess and a big disaster in my kitchen, because I just love cleaning up messes. Now I'm kind of curious what would happen if I put like a, let's say a tablespoon of, what is it, baking soda in this? Would it make it rise? Or would it do something weird? I don't know. I want to try that. But we're not going to try that right now. We're going to try that in a little bit, because I do believe I have enough ingredients left over to try another batch with a little bit of baking powder, baking soda. Which is it? I never know. All right, let's get this out and lay it on the pan. Now, everybody I've seen do this, they kind of go, you know, right down the middle. They're not being really too specific, but I'm trying not to run off the edge of the paper either. This does make a pretty nice little layer for if you're trying to make like flatbread. So now that's done, what I see them do is they just kind of try to square it up a little bit. That's what we're going to try to do here the best I can. Not trying to be Captain Perfect with this recipe. Everybody else just kind of globs it on there. But I am trying to keep the edges, see if I can push a little bit more towards the edges. Now I have the oven already preheating to 350 degrees. It said that you should do this for approximately 35 minutes. So yeah, we're just gonna test it out and see what happens. You know, when I look at it like this, it really doesn't look like anything special or like it should do anything spectacular when it's cooking. That's kind of why I want to put a little bit of baking powder or baking soda in there and just see how that works. All right, in the oven. Gonna set that timer. It says 35 minutes on most of the recipes. We're gonna set it for 30 minutes. And why did it do that? What is wrong with my oven? My oven is messed up. Oh, okay, I see what's going on there. It's not done preheating. I am so new to the kitchen. I don't know what this thing does half the time, but all right, it's gonna just click on down there and be done. I should have another cup worth. We're gonna try it with, I think it's baking powder. I'm gonna have to go in there and check. What is going on here? Oh my goodness. Let's set that up. It is really cold up here in Alaska right now. I mean, it feels like it's down below zero. I got a breeze that's coming in that vent right back there. So I want to try another batch with baking powder and just to see what happens. Okay, we got the baking powder out for the next part of the disaster to see if this works or not. And this is an unopened can. What the heck? I had an open can the other day. Let me go try to find the other can. Okay, I found the open can of baking powder, and now we're going to continue with this tragic idea of mine. This is probably going to be way too much baking powder, but you never know what's going to happen unless you try it. So we're going to do 1 tablespoon. I used 1 tablespoon in my last bread recipe, and it worked out pretty well. So then again, like I said, you just never know until you try. And I suppose if I did enough searching on the internet, looking at different YouTube videos, I might actually be able to find out if it works better or not, or if it makes something just completely wrong. So something else I was also thinking of adding to this second batch was maybe a little bit of salt, just to see what happens as well. So let's get enough cottage cheese in here to give me a cup, and that'll at least give me a baseline on, you know, how to tweak the recipe if I happen to mess it up. This is pretty much using up all of my cottage cheese. I'm only going to have a little bit left in here. So I got a little bit of cottage cheese left and a little bit of mess on the table. So we're going to add in the eggs to there. Now we're going to add the cottage cheese. Now, are you one of those people that just has to like scrape every little bit out of the container? I mean, I've always been that person that just tries to scrape it out, get every little bit out of the container I can. Now I need to find some salt. That shouldn't be too hard. I have a whole lot of different types of salt. I got garlic salt, I got Himalayan pink salt, I got Redmonds real salt right over here. We're gonna try that. Now let's see, there's these little turn things on here. I rarely use these for anything ever. So let's see, how much salt do you think I should put in? I don't need a whole bunch of salt. So that's a ½ tablespoon. Don't need that much, do I? We can put in 1/4. Yeah, we're gonna put in 1/4. Let's see what happens. And I'm not even gonna be too fussy if I get a little too much in there. But all right, there's a little bit of salt. I think bread, or any type of bread, should have a little bit of salt. That's just my opinion. I've always liked a little bit of salt in my breads in the past. And since this is a carnivore bread, yeah, let's put some salt in there. Now maybe one of these days when I grow up a little bit, I'm actually gonna spend some money and buy an actual blender. But so far, this little generic bullet blender I have here, I think I might have purchased it at the dollar store. It's not a very high quality one. I don't even know if it has a name on it. For some reason, it's not wanting to mix up like the other one. So let's see. That is the disadvantage to one of these little bullet blenders. When they don't start to mix up correctly, they just become a real pain in the butt. But okay, I think that's all done and that one's ready. We're just waiting on this one to pop out of the oven and then we can start the next one. Now the nice part about these recipes that take a little bit of time to actually cook is it gives you time to actually clean up your mess. You know, do you guys clean up your mess while you're baking, while things are actually cooking in the oven, or do you just let stuff sit in the sink for the cats to get into? And I couldn't find my cell phone and I just found it underneath my cat. So I was looking all over for a bread pan for the next version I was going to try here, but I can't seem to find a bread pan in my house. We got a little bit of everything scattered everywhere. And that's the disadvantage to working in a small kitchen. Well, something I learned on the internet not too long ago to actually get a somewhat decent tear out of this paper. You know, first you got to figure out the approximate size of what you want. You fold this all the way down and you hold it with your thumb right here, and then you just give it a good tear and it gives you a pretty decent sheet. Now the only other problem I'm gonna have is I have a round pan and a square piece of paper. So now I'm gonna have to sit here, cut this out to make it fit. So I'm thinking the easiest way is just to lay this thing down like this, or actually I could flip it over and I'll just trace around it. Hopefully I don't ruin the wife's pan. I'm using a fine tip Sharpie here. Yep, it's working. Hey, that made a pretty good circle. I feel like a toddler. Now I just need to cut out the circle. This stuff was a lot more fun when I was in grade school. Now I got to see if this fits in the pan. And again, I got this, it's always trying to curl. So it's like I got to sit here. I mean, do people on these baking shows like have an iron or something that makes this stuff lay flat, or do they, what's the special trick to this? There we go. So again, while I'm waiting, I found out that if you put baking powder mixed with eggs and you put it in one of these airtight blenders, it actually creates a lot of pressure and almost like blew up in my face. So I had to pull this off really, really slowly. But as you can see here, the container has already filled up all the way to the top. Now, a few minutes ago, I mean, it was only down here, and I lightly put this back on, and now it's all the way to the top. So it's definitely doing something in there. So yeah, we're gonna pour this in the pan and hope for the best. Boy, that seemed to create a lot more batter than I was imagining. Now I'm just gonna jiggle it around just to try to make it even. And hopefully this stuff doesn't roll out of the top of my pan. But if it does, I'm just gonna set this on a baking sheet anyways. So that way if it does come over the top of the pan by some crazy miracle that it might do that, I have some protection for my oven, so I'm not just completely ruining my oven. Now I got plenty of time to clean this up. Yeah, as you can see, we were doing some cooking here earlier today. My wife made some turkey soup for family. That was a fun little project, but the only problem is the turkey was left out in the Jeep, and the Jeep wound up getting kind of cold overnight, so the turkey froze. And then we had to actually heat up the turkey in the oven for a little bit. So okay, it looks like we got approximately 5 minutes left. We're just gonna pop this open and take a look, see what's going on in the oven. And that is definitely making something there. Okay, we're gonna give that another 5 minutes or so, and then we're gonna take it out and check it out. Then we can put the other one in. Okay, it's just about ready to pop out of the oven here. Then we get to take a good look and see what we got. Then we're gonna waste no time, and we're gonna get the other one in the oven. Oh, here we go. All right, let's see what we have here. Oh, check that out. That actually made some bread. Made something. That feels like it needs to cook for a little bit longer. I'm gonna let it go back in for another few minutes. Just like that, 5 minutes is up. Gonna pop this out and see what's going on. Okay, that looks a lot better right there. All right, we're gonna let this sit up here and cool off for a minute. And we're gonna take this one and get it in the oven. Do the same process for approximately 30-35 minutes. And I got a pan under there already, so I'm not too worried about that. Set the timer, and off we go. I'll be sure to check on that periodically to see what's going on. So this is the final product. I mean, it's really not that impressive. I'm not sure why this is like a really viral recipe. It is sticking a little bit to the parchment paper in places. And I have watched people just take this and roll it up. It is soft and squishy, but there we go. I'm still undecided on if this is edible or not. Take a small piece off. I am very underwhelmed. It has like zero flavor. There's a slight egg flavor to it. You can't taste the cottage cheese. I mean, I'm gonna eat it, but in my opinion, yeah, I'm probably not gonna make this particular recipe again. Let's see how the other one's gonna turn out. Weird. It's almost like eating a quiche, but it doesn't taste like a quiche because it doesn't have all the other ingredients in it. But after I've gotten through a few bites of this, I can kind of appreciate the fluffiness of it, but I'm still not 100% like, oh my God, I gotta make some more of this. So we got approximately 10 minutes left, and that's not looking too shabby in there. So maybe making it in the pie pan is going to be a little bit better than what we have here. This is finally cooled off enough. I don't know. It's egg bread. It's egg bread made with cottage cheese. Let's see. Okay, we're just about ready to pull this one out of the oven. The alarm is just about ready to go off. We're going to get it out. All right, so far, that's not too bad. That's the what it looks like. Now to find out if I can get it out of the pan when it cools off. So we'll give it a little bit to cool off, and then we'll try to get that out of the pan and see what happens next. Now I'm going to try something. I don't know if this is going to work. It might work for other people in their videos, but we'll just flip this over. See if I can get that to release. Oh, it looks like it came out. Wow. That looks kind of pretty. Wow, dude. You guys got to check this out. Look what I did. That made a really interesting looking piece of bread right there. We're going to have to let that one cool off a little bit before I can do anything with it, but that looks pretty delicious. I don't know what to think about this one. This one looks pretty interesting. Now this is the one that I put the baking powder in. Now that's what the top side would have looked like. It does have nice crunchy feeling to the outside. Now I want to give this a try before it cools off too much. But yeah, we're just going to make one slice all the way across, if I can. If it'll let me. It doesn't really want to cut. Wow, this bread has a lot of elasticity to it. It doesn't really want to be cut. That is a very strange texture. Oh, that's why. Can you believe that? I totally forgot that I put the parchment paper on there because it looks so pretty when I flipped it over. And it's kind of sticking to the parchment paper. So that didn't work out as planned. That almost doesn't look completely cooked, and I don't care at this point. Like I said, it's after 1:30 in the morning, and we're going to give this a try while it's still warm. That is very delicious. That's almost like an English pudding. Now this is the one that I put the one, let's see, 1 tablespoon of baking powder. I put in a little bit of salt, and the salt really does help, and the salt helps a lot. But I really like the edges, the way the edges cooked up. Now if I were to do this again, I would have let it cook just a little bit longer possibly. But here in Alaska, everything cooks at a little bit different time than other places in the lower 48, so keep that in mind. That's pretty good, even though it's undercooked. But it's still cooked enough. It's not like so undercooked that it would be like raw eggs. But now this one here, it is nice and squishy. This one has cooled off a whole lot, but it's so underwhelming. It needs salt. So if I were to make this one again, I would definitely put some salt in there. I don't know if the baking powder did anything to this recipe over here. It didn't really work out as the way I wanted it to. I thought it was going to rise up and be nice and pretty, but I might have done something wrong. Well, this one here, I like this one the best, especially this nice little crunchy part out here. That tastes so good. You have no idea how good that tastes. And the texture is perfect. It's like it's almost like a runny scrambled egg kind of texture, but just gives you that nice salty flavor. It just kicks the taste buds right in there. It just makes it really, really delicious. It's almost squishy, just like a pudding. Then you get to those crunchy bits on the end. Man, those are good. Okay, so if I do this again, I'm going to be making this version right here. Not necessarily this version right here, but I will try this one again with salt and see what I think. But I'm pretty sure this one here is going to be gone really soon because it is just amazing. If I roll it up like this with the little crunchy bites in the middle, that way every bite that I get is going to have a little bit of that crunch. Yeah, that's good. It's really good. It's a little messy, but man, it's delicious. So it's kind of like I made little fluff bread sushis. I'm really not sure why a lot of these bread recipes go viral. I mean, there's nothing to them. They're all the same thing for the most part, a little tweak here and there. But okay, guys, let me know which one of these versions you might try. The second one I tried or the first one? I like the second one a whole lot better, even though it wasn't completely 100% cooked. It had a really nice pudding texture to it. The outside rim, because I cooked it in the pie pan, had a really nice crust that went all the way around. The other one was just really underwhelming. It was just like a flat, flappy bread. Didn't have a whole lot of flavor. It needed a couple more ingredients in order to bring it to life. And yeah, that's it, guys. I really do hope to see you in the next one.